Okay, so this might be some of the realest shit I've ever said, or maybe some really important shit, because for weeks now I have been hearing about the square between Mars and Neptune and the importance of this square and this need for me to talk about it. And I kept waiting and waiting because I wanted to ensure that when I did talk about it, we were like closer to the formation, to the exact point, which in this case is October 11th. This is a message for people who have mutable energy, specifically between, we'll say 20 and 26 degrees. But very specifically, if you have mutable energy right around like 20 to 23, I'm really speaking to you. Due to Mars in Gemini going retrograde at the end of this month, we are dealing with the energy of Mars in Gemini all the way until March 2023. So with that being said, when it comes to this Mars-Neptune square between Mars in Gemini and Neptune in Pisces, the reason as to why this square is so incredibly important is due to the fact that we're going to experience it again 2 more times, ultimately. Experiences and occurrences that begin pretty much now, because Neptune is slow moving, but all the way until October 11th, specifically highlighting that day as an important day. Take note of what is going on in your life if you do have that mutable energy. But even if you don't have that mutable energy, it is still really important to take note of, because due to the fact that this retrograde period, again, goes all the way until March, we experience this exact same square yet again in November, and that is very specifically on November 17th. So things and occurrences that are kind of playing out at this moment, and again, until around the 11th, are going to pop up yet again due to the retrograde and have to be revised and readdressed and reassessed, we'll say, in November when Mars retrogrades back to the same point and that square is formed yet again. But the reason why I said this isn't just mutable signs that need to be conscious kind of this time period is due to the fact that the very last ping, the very last time that we experience the square of this ingress will be in March 2023. And during March 2023, we are also experiencing the conjunction between Jupiter in Aries and Chiron in Aries. When you consider the rulership of Aries being Mars, this is absolutely pivotal in relation to everything, ultimately, until March 2023. And March 2023 is an incredibly important month because that's when Pluto also goes into Aquarius. Ultimately, to roll it back and to speak in English in a way that is more understandable now that I've spit out all of my dates and logic. The Mars-Neptune square in general. So Mars is our invigoration, right? It is our drive. It is our aggression. It is our ability to go rah, rah, rah. It is our fight. It is our warrior complex. To have this going up against Neptune is confusing. It's a mutable square. Mutable squares can even feel like a little bit, I always say mutable madness, because it can promote a feeling of madness. There will be confusion around this time and within the coming days until October 11th. That confusion very well could involve communication, but more so aggressive communication. It's the battles that we fight verbally, ultimately. The other thing to take note of with this one is that when it comes to like verbal battles and all of that, there's going to be a lot of confusion. Like there's going to be arguments that people are having. There's going to be wars that are waged that aren't waged on the correct terms, that are waged on confusion and ultimately illusion. There could be a feeling of deception as well, and there could very well be deception. I keep saying that there's something specifically like with this square and the veil being shattered within the next 5 months. There is some sort or form of veil that is going to be shattered, but first it's going to be brought into our awareness, the illusion and the deception involved in the battle, in the fight. Mars and Gemini, like there's a need definitely if you are going into battle, we will say, to be knowledgeable, to have information information at your disposal. But the kind of issue in relation to all of this is that with Neptune's influence, that information is cloudy, that information is being skewed. It's like you may be excellent at, say, we're going to say physics. We're going to pick a tough concept topic. Say you are like a physics master, but during this time, like you attempt to fight your case in relation to this information and knowledge that you do have. You might leave out important details. You might say it incorrectly. There's confusion involved. It might be hard to access the knowledge that is necessary to win the fight. So key pointer there, the importance of understanding that there will be a veil and people could be aggressive in a very confused and delusional way, and potentially even pissed off because of the delusion, because of the illusion, not being able to see things clearly. However, the reason as to why this is of utmost importance and why I did mention the Chiron-Jupiter conjunction, which will be around 15 degrees, I do believe, Aries. So if you have cardinal energy around 15 degrees, please take note of this. The battles that we are fighting within those next 5 months, and again, there's like the starting point of this battle of breaking through the veil, busting through the veil, begins very, very soon. Ultimately, like, we want to be careful about the actions that we do take in this fight and in this aggressive expression and in what we are being driven to do, because it has the potential, if you do have that energy around 15 degrees cardinal energy, but I mean namely Aries especially, there is the potential to have to deal with the results of those actions by March, and they will be big results. We will have to deal with them in full. But I think what's really important to know about like Mars Neptune and that square, for one thing, it can be highly energy depleting. Like, you may feel as though you have low energy, especially mentally, like mentally sluggish, foggy. But my careful piece is be careful about the information that you do receive and believing everything that you receive, because right now there's a lot of confusion out there, and as well as illusion. Again, I'm not saying like don't believe anything, just remain grounded in reading things, especially things within the media and online. But also choose your battles wisely, because Mars is going retrograde at the end of this month. And when it comes to Mars retrograde, if you are in a period or time in your life in which you have to fight for something, by the end of this month, if you have to fight for something, you want to be the first one to take that first move. Because when it comes to Mars retrograde, that is the key to success, the key to winning the battle. You have to be the first one to throw the punch. Issue in this, again, is the Neptune influence, because you want to make sure that those punches that you're throwing are clear, are not going to lead to you punching the wrong person or you hurting your own fist. And please note that I do not condone violence. This is just a horrible metaphor. But I keep feeling so strongly that there is some sort of veil, again, that is going to be shattered by March, and an awareness and consciousness that is brought to a lot of people in relation to something that was like previously unclear or not being seen in full. In all seriousness though, it's not really the time to be going to war, and it's kind of ironic to say that because we're watching Russia and Ukraine like in the process of potentially getting very serious in relation to all that. Now, that's not to say that in some cases, like, you have no choice but to fight, but to go into battle. It's just that the energy is so confusing. Like, there are things that are unclear, and that unclearness is stemming very largely from information and knowledge and communication. And the communication element of it is being incredibly highlighted within the United States, because Neptune is in the third house. This thing is going to be activating the Neptune opposition that we've been experiencing. That time frame will be a little bit later, I do believe, into like the first week of November. But it is really fascinating to me that we did like kind of find our own way into the conflict with Russia and Ukraine, because you can see it within the charts. Like, Russia and Ukraine, they came from the USSR, right? And the USSR has Pisces, Virgo, North and South Node influencing them, and it's also influencing the United States. And the United States, quite literally, like what it's influencing for us is our partnerships, which is just so ironically true. But even more ironically true because the United States as well as Russia also bear the potential to be hurt by the impact of actions. And it's Chiron and Aries. Like Aries is literally the god of war. So yes, just to recap that very, very quickly, we have this square that again is going to be playing out all the way until March, and it is exact on October 11th, but leading up to that time frame from now is really, really important. The things that are happening, being conscious of the things that are happening, especially if you have beautiful energy, again, around those degree points that I mentioned, because it will be impacting you. I am not saying necessarily to be careful with actions, because when it comes to Chiron and Aries, the frustrating facet, and I always say this when it comes to Chiron as a whole, that it takes no prisoners. There is no one route to the wound. There can be a painful facet of action and having to deal with those actions, but then there can also be a painful facet of inaction and having to deal with not moving when we really needed to move.